Hello again, stranger. Do you have a favorite place? Maybe you're like me and you have several favorite places. My cottage here is one of my favorite places. The woods are beautiful, relaxing, there's so many lakes, everything about it I love. My old hometown cider mill is another one of my favorite places. But of my 10 favorite places here on earth that I've ever been, 3 of them are libraries. I love libraries because I love books. When I'm in a library, I get the feeling of a kid in a candy store, which is probably slightly incorrect because I've had this feeling since I was a kid. And I've always preferred libraries to candy stores. I love candy, I love sugar, I love sweets, don't get me wrong. I mean, look at me. I'm not a very thin lad. But books, however, are perfect. Everything about them, just the touch, the feel, the smell, the paper, the pages, the words, the stories, fiction, non-fiction. Ever since I was a small young lad, I knew that I'd want my own library someday, and I've been slowly building to that goal. I keep my books upstairs in what used to be an attic. Well, I suppose it's still an attic, but with all the bookshelves in it, we like to refer to it as the library. So if you like collecting books as well as I do, as well as talking and listening and hearing and sharing stories about them, well, let me take you on a little tour of the library. And remember, it's not hoarding if it's books. The library is just this way, up this tall, dark, narrow, creaky, steep staircase. Which, if you ask me, is the best kind of staircase. Be sure to put on your bug spray. Not that there's any bugs, it's just, I really like the smell. Come on up. Now you'll notice a lot of beds up here, and that is because our family uses this building as our family deer camp every fall. And for anybody who needs a place to stay, that being family members or friends of the family, we've got plenty of extra room. Now, in terms of organization, I don't follow necessarily the rules of, say, the Dewey Decimal or Library of Congress like many other libraries do. Mine's very loosely affiliated. You'll notice that shelves aren't necessarily arranged by color. They're not alphabetical by any means. And I have fiction and nonfiction intertwined in the same collections if I find them to be connected in some way or another. Well, now, what do you say we start with good books and work our way up to the great books? We'll start over here with the easternmost bookshelf. As you can see here, this is mostly history. I have American military history mostly at top. Most of these books are my dad's. Some of them belong to my cousin Jeff, and a few of them are mine. And below that, I have American history in general with some world history blended in. And at the very bottom, here we have mostly how-to and spillover from other sections, but mostly how-to and self-help. Now you notice a lot of these look like textbooks. In fact, many of them are in fact textbooks, either from my previous courses in high school and college, or in some cases that were picked up at yard sales and thrift stores or given away for some reason. And they didn't look amazing, but you couldn't throw it, they couldn't be thrown away. I love this one especially, the Family Album for Americans. Just look at this beautiful Americana, this American regionalism, 19th century history, a lot of great stuff. This is an old book about older subjects and just brings joy to one's heart. My westernmost bookshelf is a real hodgepodge of style and subject matter. Starting at the top, we have all the James Patterson, Robert Ludlum, Pulp Fiction style paperback novels. To the very left, Westerns. Love me some Westerns, especially Louis L'Amour. Below that, we have the classics. Wuthering Heights, The King of Elfin's Daughter, Adam Bede, some Kurt Vonnegut, Shakespeare, C.S. Lewis, James Joyce, Henry James, some Ayn Rand, good stuff. A writer, you have to have lots of books on writing instruction, most of which I have read cover to cover and like to refer to now and again as reference. To the right of that, we have religion, some Bibles, some hymnals, some other sort of stuff, and some poetry. Got sci-fi paperbacks in the middle, some spillover world history on the left, and then some junk to the right. And at the bottom, it's a hodgepodge of gardening, art, and cookery. This one here was a gift from my mother one Christmas. Beers of the world. Are you drinking a beer, stranger? Or perhaps you're having a tea or a coffee? Any beverage will do in the library as long as it's a good one. This is probably the fourth building that this bookshelf has been in. We've got fantasy up top, some hardcover, mostly paperback, little Stephen King, Brian Jakes, Magic the Gathering. I collected those as a middle schooler. Great books though, even the Twilight books. Below that, behind this handsome gentleman, we've got my graphic novels. Get Jiro by the late Anthony Bourdain. I hate having to refer to him as that. Some Hellboy, some League, some Fables, some Adventure Time, just some really fun stuff. Between that, we got a little selection of horror on display, really. I got some dried flowers here for aesthetics. Some good stuff. Some literary fiction to the left that didn't really have a place anywhere else. And then we have this shelf. I like this shelf a lot. This is what I call the Beats and Rebels shelf. This is where we keep Fight Club and A Clockwork Orange, some Dee Dee Ramone, some Patti Smith, Charlie LaDuff, more Anthony Bourdain, Jack Kerouac, Tom Wolfe, Brodigan, and plenty of Hunter S. Thompson. Big fan of The Good Doctor, although I would never want to be him. He lived a hard life. Most of the people on this shelf are dead, in fact. Before their time, no doubt, no less. And besides some spillover rock and roll, the next shelf down is all what can mostly be described as historical fiction. I love history, I love fiction, and I love it when a good writer can blend them together. And below that, we have plenty of outdoors books, sporting, Michigan history, Canada, which is practically Michigan, or vice versa rather. I've been a fan of local and state history since I was a young boy, and many of these books, of which I've collected some since that time. Got the Mystic Michigan series. You can pick those up at most gift shops and convenience stores in the area. Some hunting, some hiking, you know, good stuff. The travel guides from Trip Out West, which I'll post the video for that, the link right there. And here's my very first travel guide I picked up as a 10-year-old. I mailed out for Texas, Lone Star State. Came with a companion guide that had a letter written from then Governor George W. Bush. Plenty of Goodreads winners in there. If you're not familiar with Goodreads, check it out. I love signing up for the Goodreads giveaways because free books, please, thank you. You can discover some great things that way. And I think I've won maybe seven or eight. You'll recognize most of this part over here from all my other videos. This is where I film most of the Mortar and Ivy content. And I call it the studio, and it's really just a glorified attic corner. Some loose scripts left over from other videos. Got a stack of books there that have yet to be categorized and placed in the shelves. And then over to our right, we have the Piece de la Résistance, the Tour de France. This is where I keep my absolute prized possessions. This is the creme de la history. History. The cream of the history. Just use take two. Lots of books on royalty. Some books on the Crusades. Story of Britain. Some Thomas More. Some Bede. Bernard Cornwell. Every lover of Old English history needs a copy of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles and the Ecclesiastical History of the English People. It's just a must. Also, Le Morte de Tours, the original book about King Arthur that Sir Thomas Malory wrote in the 16th century. My Tolkien collection, some Tennyson, also Arthur related. Found that at a diner. Here we have most of my Harry Potter books, some Da Vinci Code and related stories, the Kalevala, the Finnish book of religious prose and mythological creation, Beowulf. In fact, let's move Beowulf. Let's put Beowulf up here. So what do you think, stranger, of my humble collection of bound books? Anything catch your eye? Anything you'd like to see me do a review of? Go ahead and let me know in the comments. Also, tell me what you think of my... Also, go ahead and criticize my taste. What am I missing? What do I need that's not in these shelves? You gonna mail me some? Mail me some free books? Hey, just tell me and I'll give you my address, because that's what's up. I never say no to books. I've been Johnny. You're always welcome at the library. Hey, I'm not done yet. Be sure to watch these videos too. There might be 2 of them. There might be 3 of them. And again, please subscribe. You'll enjoy it. We'll make sure you do. And if you don't, tell us how you may. What's the worst that could happen? You might learn something? Oh, God forbid.